Hello everyone and welcome along to today's webinar for Sage Business Cloud Accounting. This is our introductory session, so it's ideal if you're maybe just considering Sage Business Cloud, or maybe you've already signed up, possibly in your sort of free trial period, and you just want a helping hand or pointing in the right direction to get yourself up and running. So we're going to cover the very basics in the session this morning. So my name is Michael and I'm going to be obviously hosting the session today, just myself running the session with you all. So I'll be doing the talking, the demos, and also if there are any questions along the way, I'll try and answer those as well. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping before we do get started. You don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you've got one, it will automatically be muted. You'll find you can't unmute yourself. That means you can't verbally ask any questions, but you will be able to type them into the questions panel. Now, if you can't currently see the questions panel, all you need to do is click the little icon, which is the one that looks like the speech bubble containing the question mark. Give it a click. You'll get the little box in the bottom right-hand corner, and then you can start typing. You also have an option towards the bottom of your toolbar just to switch to full screen mode as well. So that might make it just a little bit clearer when I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so really that's all you need to know. You will also receive a follow-up email after the session today. I'll tell you more about that as we're going through towards the end. Right, let's have a look at our agenda, and this is what we're going to be covering in this session. So we are going to start with the very basics, so accessing Sage Business Cloud. We'll get logged in, we'll have a quick tour, give you an idea of the help and support that's available. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run through a series of demonstrations. So again, we're going to pick out the key areas that you're most likely to use when you first start using Sage Accounting. Just at the end, I'll explain more about the further learning that's available. So just to help you, if you want to expand your knowledge and get more from your software, then a number of options. Right, let's get started. So as I say, we're going to start with the very basics, logging in and a quick product tour. So I'll share my screen at that point. Just before I log in, I think it's worth mentioning that Sage Business Cloud is what you would term native cloud. So fully in the cloud, fully accessed online. There's nothing for you to download. There's nothing for you to install. Literally, you go along to our website, sage.com, and you'll have a login option. Now, if you haven't yet signed up for Sage Business Cloud Accounting, this is exactly where you'd go as well. You'll find more information about things like features, the different levels of the software. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a few minutes as well. You'll find pricing information. There's contact options on the screen as well. But otherwise, head along to sage.com. Now, specifically, obviously, Sage Business Cloud is aimed at small businesses. There's various trials that are available as well. So currently, if you go on our website as of today, there is a 2-month free trial available. So it means that you can have a go of it, and there's no long-term commitment to that either. So you're not signing up for 12 months and 2 months is free. You got full use of the software during that point, and that includes access to our support team as well. But it is where you'll find the login option. So top right, we'll click login. From the panel that appears, the My Products area, we choose Sage Business Cloud, and then you're going to be prompted to log in. Now, your login is something that you will set up as part of the registration process. So enter your details, click login. That's going to take you into Sage Business Cloud Accounting, and you'll then be presented with the summary screen. Now, the summary is split into a number of key tabs. So we've got a sales tab, which we're on at the moment. You'll see there's a graph at the top. And if I scroll down, you'll see there's a dashboard view as well. We'll come back to that dashboard in just a moment. But you've got purchases, again, similar layout, cash flow statement, graph at the top, giving you that visual representation, and dashboard information at the bottom. And then finally, you've got the cash flow forecast as well. So just going back to sales, as you can see, we've got the graph at the top. And then coming down, we've got the dashboard view, pulling out key aspects of our sales information. So we can see at a glance what position our outstanding sales invoices are in. We can see any that are overdue. We can see the position of our quotes and estimates, our top 5 customers for the last 30 days. So who spent the most with us? top 5 debtors, who owes us the most. Some of these will have a more link as well. So if you just click the link, it will expand, take you into the relevant area and show you the full list of whatever area you've clicked on. So it's no longer just my top 5 debtors. I can see all of my customers and their outstanding balances, and I can see sort of how old the debts are as well. So see what sort of period that falls into. Now, as you can see, if we go back to the summary page, and you'll see there's just one toolbar along the top as well. And that means it's really easy to navigate around the software. So even if you've used accounting software before, you're going to be up and running in next to no time. Even if you've never used any accounting software before, yes, there's probably a bit more to learn because you're learning about accounting and accounting terminology, that type of thing, but you'll still be up and running very quickly. The software is very intuitive, and hopefully that's the feel that you'll get for the software today as well. So we're going to run through, well, in fact, we'll touch on quite a few of these options along the toolbar today. And hopefully you'll see that theme coming through of keeping it simple. Now, although it's very intuitive and really easy to use, and as I say, I think you'll be up and running in next to no time, loads of help and support for you as well. Now, you can access the online help in a number of different ways. One is the option top right corner, and the other is literally on whatever screen you're looking at. Next to the title, you'll have this little sort of question mark icon. Clicking that will take you into the online help relating to whatever it is that you're looking at. So in this case, the summary tab. So if you get stuck at any point, whether you just want more information about what's showing on screen, or you need some help with a report you're running, or how to enter a certain transaction, or complete a process such as generating your VAT return, just head to the top, click that little question mark icon, and it should bring up the help and support that you require. But as I say, really comprehensive, and if you get stuck, I would always encourage you to check that in the first place. It will probably answer the majority of any queries that you have. But you can navigate through the rest of the help that's available, and you can also search through the help as well. But I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is included in help. It is very comprehensive, but there's bound to be something that you need some support with at some point that maybe isn't included. Maybe you don't know what to search for in the first place, or maybe you find it, but because you're maybe new to accounting, you don't quite get it. Or maybe you find the information, but actually your scenario is a little bit different to what it recommends. So if that is the case, all you need to do, any help page that you're on, just scroll right down to the bottom. On the black panel at the bottom, you've got this Get in Touch link. In Get in Touch, you'll be prompted to complete these 3 boxes. So I'm going to say I'm in the UK, I'm a customer, and that I need help with Sage Business Cloud Accounting. So choose the software. It will then outline the options that you've got available for getting in touch with our support team. Now, access to our support team and using them is included as part of your subscription. So you can contact us via online chat if you prefer to type in questions and get a written answer as well. So obviously that's a live service. You've got telephone service as well. So if you prefer maybe just picking up the phone to speak to someone, which is available 24/7. So that doesn't matter if you do your accounting during the day, in the evening, or even in the middle of the night. We are just a phone call away. And then finally, if you, as it suggests, you've got email. So if you're not in a hurry, you don't need it literally an immediate answer, then you can always log a query with us, or log a query with our support team via email. You should get a response within 24 hours. So you've got a number of options there. Right, so let's just close out with those help options. What we'll do is we'll go back to the slides just for a moment. But just before we start running through the demonstrations of using the software, I just want to quickly mention about the 3 different levels of the software that we have available. So we've got Start, Standard, and Plus. Now, in today's session, I'm going to be using the Plus level, which is the top level. Now, Plus and Standard are very similar, and I'll point out any differences between the two along the way. Start, however, it's much more aimed at maybe those very much smaller businesses. Generally, it would be service-based, and just one user needs access to it. But you'll still be able to, even on that level, you'll be able to generate invoices, email them out, track what you owed. You've got things like bank reconciliation options. You can generate a VAT return submitted online. But I suppose one of the key things there is it does support one user only. Now, again, if you need any information about the different levels, pricing information, that type of thing, just head along to sage.com. You can always upgrade through the range should you need to. There is a separate webinar available for the start level because it does feel a little bit different just with it having fewer features here and there. But obviously, the higher up the range you go, the more features you do gain. So if you want to see the start one in action, just watch out for your follow-up email or get yourself onto the registration page. And there'll either be an opportunity to maybe attend a live session or you'll be able to watch an on-demand recording. Right, okay, let's crack on and we'll get stuck into some demonstrations. And the first area that we're going to look at with you today is customizing your invoice templates. Now, I think this is a good example of how we keep it as simple as possible. So you're going to be provided with a number of templates, and it's really just a case of you choosing which is more suitable for your business. So even just maybe just which you like the look of the best. It's easy to add your company logo and also up to 2 association logos. We'll include this in the demo in just a moment. Including your payment terms and conditions will help to ensure that you get paid on time. And I've also going to pick up on the notes area as well. One of the most common queries to do with invoicing is how do I put my bank details onto that so my customers can pay me direct, they can pay me online. So using the notes field is the recommended way of doing that. Really easy to do that as well. Let's switch across and we'll quickly run through a demonstration of this area. So from the toolbar along the top, we're going to start by going into settings and then choosing business settings. Now, business settings, chances are it's an area that you're likely to pop into here and there when you first start using the software. Once you're up and running, maybe not so much, but definitely when you first start. One of the reasons for that, I'll just quickly point this one out just in case you're looking for this one, is to enter your opening balances. So if you're just setting up your accounting, if you want to enter any outstanding balances against your customers, your suppliers, any bank balances that you might have, or nominal balances. So if you've got an opening trial balance to enter, that's where you'd enter it. The area I do want to pick up on though is in document settings, and it's templates and logos. So we just give that a quick click. It takes me into the area where I can now choose my template. So you're presented with 3 templates which are categorized as being product-based. And if I scroll a little bit further down, you've got 3 which are categorized as being service-based. Really, it's just a case of you working through and finding which is most appropriate for what you want. Now, if you want to see any of them in a bit more detail, just highlight it, click preview at the bottom. It will preview the template for you. And then you've got access to the zoom tools as well. So if you zoom in, you can see a lot more clearly. So I've got my logo, company details, and you can see basically based on the template you've selected and maybe some of the settings I've already entered, you can see exactly what your invoices are going to look like. Now you can always come back into this area and switch templates if you want. Coming a little bit further down, you've got your logo options. Now let me just quickly reset that. So when you first come in, all 3 panels will just say add a logo. So to add a logo, you literally click the relevant panel and then just a case of browsing through to wherever you've got your logo stored, select it, click open, and essentially that could be it done. Now, when it inserts it, it needs to fit inside this blue box, and you can drag your logo around just to reposition it slightly if you needed to. And you can also resize it as well, but literally it's as simple as that. And note that when I came in, I knocked a logo off. So if your logo changes, so the Sage logo has recently changed, for instance, maybe you use a different brand color. So your logo is the same, but different color. slightly different shade. You can change all of that. So easy to switch your logo onto a new one if needed. Association logos, pretty much the same. Just click the relevant panel, browse to whatever logo you want to use, and then that's it done. Now you'll see this one a little bit too big for the box, so I can shrink it down. I'll just do one click so it does fit, and you can also drag it as well. So if you find out you're just off on one side, maybe just need to nudge it over slightly. But other than that, that would be it done. Now coming down to the bottom, you've got your theme color and your font. So I'm sure you can guess what these ones do. You've got a little preview box here. So if you change colors, for instance, gives you an idea of what that would look like. So if you don't want to use one of the standard colors either, then you pop in the hex code color. One little bit of advice on that one is if you're using quite a dark color, you may find that, I'll just preview it as well, just so you can see how that color would be applied. But if you are using a dark color, you may find that sometimes when it uses that dark color, so I've got a few different shades of that blue I've just selected. But for instance, if it was a really dark blue, you probably wouldn't be able to read that text when I email out or print an invoice out. So you may find that if you're using a hex code for a certain color, that you need to tweak it just to lighten it up a little bit. But you've got the 10 standard ones to choose from, or you can use your own. Again, if you want to make any changes, see what they look like, just click preview, but otherwise click save. Okay, the message that pops up. And then that's it done. Now, when you save anything, you've got this green bar that appears at the bottom. Just disappears after a couple of seconds, just to let you know that the changes have been saved. Now, coming a little bit further down the page, just beneath templates and logos, I want to quickly pick up on document preferences. So if we click into that area, again, you'll see it's an area there where there's loads of settings in here. If I just quickly scroll down and then back up, you'll see there's loads of options on here. I'm going to pick out some of the ones that you're most likely to query. But again, if you need some assistance or some advice on what the information is or what it relates to, just head up to the top, click your little question mark icon, and it should provide the help and support you need. But picking out a couple of key points on this screen, a couple of key settings. One is the next invoice number. So if you're coming from other software and you want to maintain that numbering sequence for your invoices, or maybe you've been handwriting them so far, maybe you're just about to start invoicing for the very first time, but maybe you just don't want to start at number 1. So you can specify the next invoice number you want to use. Coming a little bit further down, you've got your terms and conditions and your notes areas. Now, both are pretty much the same. So you've got tabs along the top for the various documents, and then you've got a text box. Now, I mentioned for the notes area, for instance, for invoices, very common to want to include your bank details on your invoices. So on the invoice tab, you can see that's exactly what I've got entered here. It is just text at the end of the day. Whatever you type into these boxes will automatically be pulled through, in this case, onto the invoice. So I'll still be able to amend it there and then as well, but you don't want to have to sit there and every time you enter an invoice, then type in your bank details. So you can include it by default, just type it in there. You could use it for anything because it is a text box at the end of the day. You can see you can have up to 2,000 characters. So I've got bank details in there, but equally that could just be maybe something to highlight new contact details to your customer. Maybe a seasonal greeting. Could be maybe new product ranges or special offers that you have, new services that you want to promote. So a little bit of self-marketing on your invoices. Again, whatever you type in there, it will automatically include it by default. We'll see that when we get onto invoicing in a few minutes. We just click save though, okay the message, and that's all the changes made. So hopefully you'll agree with me. We've kept it as simple as possible. So hopefully I don't think there's anything complicated about that one. Anyway, we'll pop back to the slides and we're going to move on. Now, again, if you think of any questions along the way on the live session today, all I want you to do is just access the questions panel. and then you'll be able to start typing. I'll just read your question out here and there, either demo an answer to you or just verbally give you an answer, or even just point you in the right direction. But remember, you've got loads of information available in the online help. Right, okay, so we're on the next area that we're going to cover, and it's contacts. And when I'm talking about contacts, we're talking about setting records for your customers and your suppliers. Some of you will use both areas, some will use one but not the other. And it's quite common, if you're much more sort of retail and cash-based, that you might actually use neither. It's a lot more common on the start level of the software, that one. Now, there is no restriction to the number of records that you can set up, so set up as many as you want. And it means by having them set up, you've got their information stored in your accounting and you'll have easy access to that. If you're transferring from Sage 50 across to Sage Business Cloud Accounting, then you can migrate your records with you to save you having to set them up again. So people do choose just to start again. And those of you that are using accounting software for the first time, or maybe transferring from other accounting software, then you've got two options for setting up contact records. One is to add them in manually. Now, adding records in manually, it's not a difficult task by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a case of sitting there keying in the information. But I would regard that as, probably because I'm not very quick at typing, but I would regard that as being a bit of a time-consuming task, or an admin-heavy task, that one. But not a difficult task. And you don't need to set all your records up in advance. You can just set them up as and when you need them. So if you are coming from other software and you think, well, I've got 300 customers I need to transfer across, how many do you need to transfer there and then? Probably just the ones that have an outstanding balance. The others, probably you'll just enter them in as and when. Now, the other option, if you do have that information stored elsewhere, is if you can get that information into the likes of Excel, then you should be able to import that information. Now, you might be sat there thinking, well, I've never used accounting software before, or I've never used Sage Accounting, at least. I've never done anything like that before, so I'm never going to be able to do that. I'll just set them up manually. But don't rule out the possibility of importing if you've got that information stored somewhere. Remember, our support team is on hand as well. There's loads of information in the online help, but our support team is on hand and they can assist you with that type of thing. Within the records, you'll find a number of tabs, one of which is the activity tab. So you'll see the full transaction history against the account. And if you're going to be offering credit, then you'll be aware that you can spend a lot of time chasing your customers for payment. So sending out statements, which can be automated, but sending out statements is a good way of giving your customers a bit of a nudge, a bit of a reminder, this is still outstanding, it still needs to be paid. Now, I'm not demonstrating statements today, but you'll find loads of information, again, in the online help. Let's have a look at contacts, though, just to, again, make it a bit more meaningful to you, and you'll see it in action. Contacts is an option on the toolbar, and you can see when I hover over it, it gives me an option of selecting customers or suppliers. So I can choose to display only my customers or only my suppliers, but if I do just literally click contacts, it will give me a list of all of the records that I've got set up. So these are my records. You can see we've got options towards the upper right corner, new customer, new supplier. And on the drop downs attached to each of those options, you'll find the relevant import option. Now, if I just click new customer as an example, and the first thing it's going to prompt me to enter then is the business name. So that's either going to be a company name, or if it is an individual, the person's name. It's then just a case of entering as much detail as you can at that point. So contact details, you've got tabs running through the middle of the record as well. So again, just to try and, I suppose, it then breaks down into manageable chunks, the information that you need to enter. So you've got a sort of address information, delivery information, payment details, such as the option to set credit limits and credit terms for that specific customer or supplier. And then just a case of filling it in as best you can and then coming down to the bottom, clicking save, and it will add it onto your list. Now, if I click into this A1 Design Services account, you'll see what a customer record looks like. So we've got the basic detail at the top. You've got your highlight boxes along the top as well. So credit position, sales summary, and then contact details. And then the tabs I mentioned running through the middle. Now, if anyone's looking at theirs and you're looking at CI, you're thinking, why has Michael got CIS and I haven't? CIS is something that's built into your software, but it's not switched on by default. If you are registered for CIS, then please get yourself into the help. It's a really comprehensive section on CIS, switching it on, setting it up, entering transactions, and obviously things like generating a CIS return, submitting it online, etc. But we've got the various tabs. Again, you've got the activity. Activity is where you'll see the details of the transactions. So it's going to show the details of any invoices, receipts, refunds, credits. It will default to the last 30 days. So if you can expand that date range or narrow it down if you needed to, and you've got a couple of other filters as well. Well, now we'll come back to the customer's activity a little bit later on, maybe when we look at invoicing. But that's the basics of setting up records. So again, nice and easy. Now, sticking with the theme of records just for a moment, I'm going to pop back to the slides. And next, we're going to look at setting up records for the products you sell and the services you provide. Now, some of you will be sat there and think, well, I'm service-based. I just want to enter some basic details directly onto the invoice. I don't want to set up records for it. Now, you can do that. It's not a problem. You'll see that in the demonstration in a couple of minutes. But even if you are service-based and you're thinking, well, I do just want a key text in, don't rule out the possibility of maybe setting up some records. There's bound to be some services where you have a set description or a set rate you charge. So things like professional fees, memberships, subscriptions, call-out charges, daily rates, hourly rates, anything of that nature. If you set that up as a record, it means you can pull that directly onto the invoice. It means when it comes to invoicing, you're then not sat there with a printed price list, or you're not sat there with a calculator trying to work out the rate that you charge, because you've already got that specified. It means that if maybe multiple people are invoicing, then you've got that big consistency as well. Now, potentially you can set up 3 types of record: stock, non-stock, and service. Stock, where you're recording stock levels, is an option that's only available if you're on the highest level, which is the plus level of the software. So please bear that one in mind. That is one of the differences between standard and plus. So you've got the 3 options, potentially. You can set up as many records as you want. Again, we're coming into the realms of, it's very similar to working with contacts now. So set up as many records as you want. Similar options, you can set them up manually, which isn't difficult, just in case it's sitting there keying in the information. Or if you do have the information stored somewhere, you can import them. And importing records can be a massive time saver, that one. Depends how many you have that you need to bring in. You've got customizable pricing options, discount options available as well. If you are recording, you've got stock records set up, then easy to track stock in and out. And also easy to monitor how your products and services are selling as well. Let's have a quick look at that area in the software though. It's easy for me to say, but obviously let's have a quick look at it. On the toolbar along the top then, into products and services. Again, it will list all of the records that I've got set up. Got a new item option, upper right side of this window. And also, if you are going down the option of wanting to import from the drop down, you've got the import items drop down there. But if I click new item, it's going to ask me to create a record. So choose what type of record I want to set up. Depending which option you choose will determine what information you're prompted to enter. So for instance, if it's a stock item, So remember, you'll only have that one if you're on the plus level, but if it's a stock item, as well as sort of sales price information, purchase price information, etc., it will prompt you to enter any stock on hand that you might have. Whereas if I was to choose, say, a service item and scroll down to similar area, it doesn't ask me for that. So it's just a case of filling in the information as best you can. And similar to working with contacts, don't worry if you don't have all the information up front, you can always come back and add it in. And again, you don't necessarily need to add them all in advance and set them all up. You can just add them in as and when. Bit of a divide on that one. Some people like to have all the records set up in advance before they start entering live transactions. Others will, a bit like I've just said there, they'll enter the bare minimum just to get themselves up and running. They'll key in the records as and when. Sometimes it's a good opportunity that as well, if you're switching from other software, maybe just have a bit of a clear out, or almost like starting afresh. So you're only popping in the records that you actually need. Now, if I just pop into an existing record, I'm going to choose a stock record as well. So let's just pick on this one, see if I've got any transactions against this one. So this is what generally a record would look like. So you've got stock position, you've got a sales summary and purchase information. Again, it will default to the last 30 days. If I just shove that way back to the beginning of the year, maybe. Oh, still not got much on there, but you'll see, with it being a stock item, you'll see the movement recorded against the activity within the record. So that's stock records. I generally think if you can work with contact records, you're probably more than capable of dealing with products and services as well, because they're very, obviously layout-wise, very similar. Right, okay, let's again pop back to the slides. Again, keep any questions that anyone might have, just keep them coming. Just pop them into that questions panel, and I'll try my best to pick them up for you. Right, we'll pop back to the slides, and we're now going to start looking at probably more of the day-to-day work, so moving beyond the initial setup, so entering transactions. The first area that we're going to look at is invoicing. Now, I'm going to look at it from a invoicing your customer perspective. Now, if you can invoice your customers, you'll be able to enter invoices from your suppliers as well, just as easy. When I run through the demo, though, I'm just going to enter an invoice against a customer. Now, if you can enter an invoice against a customer, you'll be able to do a credit note. If you can do invoices and credits against a customer, you'll be more than capable of doing them against a supplier on the purchases side. Now, as you'll see in the demo in just a moment, it's really quick to build your invoice, so to enter it into the software, and also things like emailing it out. Really straightforward. There's no complicated settings for that. So you'll see that in the demo in a moment. You've got an option to generate quotes and estimates, which you can easily convert across to become an invoice if and when your customer accepts that job. VAT will be calculated automatically. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, well, yeah, I would fully expect that. I think you would. But there's other settings behind the scenes as well, so which will feed the likes of your VATable transactions through onto the VAT return in the correct way. Now, two of my favorite features, the ability to attach files to invoices and also the timeline feature. We'll include those in the demo in a moment. Give you an idea how you might use those. But the timeline, you can see at a glance what position your invoice is at, so what stage of the invoicing process it's at. Now, CIS, I mentioned you could switch this one on. It's built into your software if needed. Well, switching that on means that you can then apply CIS deductions. And also, you can apply things like the domestic reverse charge to when you're entering transactions. And if you are service-based, so let's say you invoice on a monthly basis for like maintenance contracts, for instance, then the recurring invoices option is a fab feature. So rather than you manually enter an invoice every month or whatever sort of frequency you do that on, You could flag it as a recurring invoice. Software does it automatically for you. You can even flag it so it automatically emails it out. Potentially a good time saver, that one as well, if your business falls in, if it's suitable for you, of course. Right, let's have a quick look at invoicing then. We'll quickly run through a bit of a demonstration. We're going to access the sales menu and choose sales invoices. In sales invoices, you can see I've got a list of the invoices I've entered so far. I'm just going to click new invoice. And the first thing I'm going to be prompted to do is to choose my customer. Now, if I know the account reference or the name of the customer, I can just type that in, or if you prefer, you can just select them from the drop down. Now, you'll notice on the bottom of that menu there's an option to add a customer. So if you just not had a chance to set them up, or maybe it's a brand new customer, you can key their detail in at that point. Just for speed though, what I'll do is I will select an existing customer. You'll see when I do that, it pulls through things like the address information, which you can amend if required. So if you've got multiple addresses set up, or maybe it's a one-off where you can just choose to key in the information there and then. I'll just click update, and that's it done. You've got the option to change the invoice date and the due date. Due date will be calculated automatically for you. It's basically the invoice date plus whatever the payment terms are that you've added within the relevant customer's record. Both you can amend though. So if you're playing catch up with the invoices, maybe you just do it once a week, once a fortnight. Maybe you prepare your invoices in advance. Then you've got an option to, you can do that. Finally, at the top, you've got an option for a reference. So if you've been provided with an order number, something like that you need to quote, you can enter it. Now, for those of you that are one step ahead, you may be looking at the main body of the invoice there. You'll see there's only one line there at the moment, but if you've been using Sage Accounting already, you'll know that generally where you've got one line, as you start typing, it'll give you another line. So, and that's no different when it comes to invoicing. Now, if you have set up product and service records, just a case of you choosing them from the drop-down. So we'll just choose a couple of items. So really quick to build up your invoices if you have set up records in advance, all of which, so you can see it's pulled through the description, ledger accounts, the price, the rate, the relevant VAT rate that's associated with that one, etc. All of which you can amend. So if I wanted to provide a little bit more information, for instance, I can do that. For an item that you sold, you might want to provide certain special, maybe there's additional text that you want to enter, special conditions of the sale, warranty information, guarantee information that you want to add, serial number of a particular item, maybe it's a batch number that you want to quote. So you can key that in. Obviously, normally it's just a case of you choosing the items and specifying the quantity or the number of hours. You can also amend the rate as well. You can have multiple rates set up. You can have potentially up to 10 rates per item, but you've got the option to just overtype it there and then as well if you want. Maybe your customer turns around and says, well, I'll get that a little bit cheaper elsewhere. Can you match that? So if you do offer price match, then you've got it's easy to handle that. Now, if you've got items, or you're going down the service-based route, and you might even do a bit of mixing and matching where some items you've got set up, others you just want to key in a description. So if you just want to key in a description with a price, etc. attached to it, then just ignore that first column, click into the description, and you can start typing at that point. Add as much detail as you want, and also add as many items as you want as well. Choose your ledger account. I'm going to come back to ledger accounts a little bit later on, and I'll say I've charged, let's say, $63.50 for that one, and I'm going to charge VAT at the standard rate. Now, on the subject of VAT, when you first set up your company, it will pick up your region. So are you based in the UK, or are you based in Republic of Ireland, for instance? It'll display the rates accordingly. And also, it's going to ask you if you are VAT registered, what VAT scheme you're on. So what you'd be presented with on the VAT rate drop down is the options applicable to you. Now again, you can add as many different items as you want. So I'll just keep going for that one. Coming a little bit further down, you've got your totals, bottom right, exactly where you'd expect to find them. You've got your notes and your terms and conditions. So we looked at those a little bit earlier. You'll see I can click into the box, so I can remove what's there or change what's there, whatever I want to do at that point. Both boxes you can click into and amend. You can save your invoice as a draft or as a pro forma. So if you're building a draft invoice, maybe you're working on a job over a period of time, then you can keep going into the invoice, updating it with the materials used, the time that you spent, the services that you provide. You've got the option to preview your invoice. Always a good idea. Give it a once over just before you either email it out or print it. Now I can, as before, I can zoom in as well. So I've got the zoom controls on the bottom right here, so I can see it. Give it a once over. I can see the logo I popped on earlier. I can see that blue that we changed to. I've got my notes in here with the bank details, the logo that we'd selected. So it's all on there. You've got customize, which gives you access to the two areas that we looked at the very beginning. You've got your little paper clip. Now I described this as one of my favorite features earlier. So this allows you to upload files against your invoices. It's available against a few different options, this one. But let's say I want to upload a file. Now you might be thinking, well, what on earth would I want to upload? Could be anything. You might want to attach some form of document. So you might have a separate payment terms document. You might have a price list you want to send out, some sort of sales brochure, warranty information, guarantee information that you need to provide, special conditions of the sale. You might have special offers on, or maybe new product ranges that you're providing, or trying to promote new services that you offer. Again, it's a way of providing additional information. Now, for each file that you do upload, another example, possibly you've taken a photograph of a job you've completed. I'll attach that to the invoice. Now, for each file that you do attach, you're going to get this little slider. Now, this enables you, or it's basically prompting you, do you want to make that file that you have attached, do you want to make that visible to the customer? So if I'm emailing it out, or you want to email that document as well. For each file that you do upload, you'll get this little slider. So you might do, again, some files you might want to send out, others not. So if it's a photograph of a job, for instance, you might think, well, I'll attach that to the invoice, but I don't want to send it to the customer. I just want it there to jog my memory in case the customer comes back to me. And it means I can access the invoice. I can, at a glance, view the photograph. Just jogs memory of the job that was completed. So good little feature, that one. You've got this option to save your invoice. You can save and email it. We'll click on that in just a second. And from the drop down, you can save it and print it, and save and new. So if you've got more than one to enter. Now I'm just going to click save an email. And when I do that, first of all, I'll get the green bar. Lets me know that the invoice has been added to my accounts. That disappears. And then it prompts me to email out the invoice. Now this is actually automatically completed for me, but I can make changes if I want to. It's a common theme, that one, where it pulls information through automatically, but you'll still be able to amend it. So again, if I need to make any changes, including to the subject or the message area of the email that's going to be sent, just click in, make the changes. Other than that, I'm just going to click send, and that's it done. Now, if you were paying attention earlier, when we looked at customizing our invoices, you remember that I did change the number. So you can see how it's picked that up. Now, it's added the invoice to the list, and if I click that invoice, it takes me back into this screen, which has got all the detail of that invoice on there. Also, if I was working, let's say, in my customer, and I was looking at that, let's go access the customer record, and you'll see the invoices on here as well. So the invoice is listed on the activity, and if I click that link from there, again, it takes me into that screen that we've just looked at. So we can see all the detail of the invoice that we entered, the items, the terms and conditions, and notes that were included at the time. You've got your timeline at the top, so you can see what sort of stage your invoice is at. You can come into your invoice and you can record a payment against the invoice, either in full or part. You can also do that within banking as well if you prefer. And then beneath that, you've got what I refer to as the actions panel. Now, I don't think there's an official title for this panel, but I refer to it as the actions panel. So you've got the ability to email it out again, to maybe print preview it, to share a link, to amend it. Maybe it's your customer wants to place a duplicate order. I'll copy this one and generate a new one. Generate a credit note on the back of it. Print a delivery note, download a copy. Maybe view the files that you attached. Would be that easy. But that's the basics of invoicing. And if you can do an invoice, you'd be more than capable of doing a credits. You do them on the sales side, you can do them on the purchases side. So again, hopefully you've got that feel for the software. Really simple, really flexible as well. Right, so that's invoicing. Bit of a whirlwind tour, that one. I appreciate that one. Next, we're going to go back to the slides. We're going to look at another area that probably when you're working in accounting, you're probably going to spend a decent percentage of your time in, and that's banking. So recording payments and receipts, so money coming in and going out of your various accounts. Now, it is very easy to record your bank transactions. We'll see that one in just a moment. Initially, you will have 2 bank records set up, but you can set up additional records if you want. So if you've got multiple cash accounts or you've got credit cards, deposit accounts, you can set them all up. One thing that you may not have come across, particularly if you're new to accounting software just in general, is that you will need to categorize your transactions. That might be something that you've not really thought of yet. So easy enough to say, right, we've had £100 going out of our bank, for instance, but what does that relate to? So we need to categorize it. And if you've used any accounting software before, you may have come across the term of ledger accounts, category accounts, nominal records, general ledger accounts, all essentially meaning the same thing. It's a way of categorizing it. You're doing that for reporting purposes so that you get tools for those categories. Now, in addition to that, when you're entering your transactions, you can specify analysis types. So if you want to assign transactions to departments, projects, cost centers maybe, then you can do that. Now, analysis types is something that we do cover in detail in the advanced session. So if you want to find out more about analysis types, please either, if there is one available, sign up for our live session. Again, the link will be provided on your follow-up email, or if not, view the on-demand recording. Other one to mention as well, which I'm not including a demo of this in the session today, is that you can enter transactions on the go via the mobile app. The mobile app is included as part of your subscription, so it's free to download, free to use. And it means that not only can you access your information on the go, your data, but you can also enter transactions on the go as well. So I'm going to show you how you record an expense. I'm just sat on my laptop today, but equally, if you're out and about, you've got the mobile app available, you can enter the transaction there and then. Right, okay, let's pop back to this my desktop. We're going to go into banking, again, available on the toolbar at the top there. So into banking. When we go into banking, it will give me panels for each of the various bank records that I've got set up. If you need to set up additional bank records, it's just new bank account, fill in the details, save it, and it will add another panel to your list. If we go into a bank record, just by clicking one, you'll see what one looks like. So basic account details at the top, and if we do scroll down, you'll see we've got the various tabs. Now watch out for a bank record. Bank record will display the current month by default. So if you've just ticked into the next month, sometimes catches me off guard a little bit, that one. Some of the areas will show you the last 30 days, but for a bank record, it will show you the current month. So if I just extend the date range back a little bit, click search, you'll see I've got a lot more on here now. Oh, gone a bit too far. I've actually clicked on something. Let me just go back a page. So we've got our bank transactions listed at that point. Right, now let's just cancel that one and we'll get back to the main bank accounts list. Now from here, let's say we wanted to record an expense. All I do is just click new, choose what it is I want to enter. So let's say let's say we'll record an expense. So we'll do a payment. So you're going to record sort of payment, money going out of your account. What type of payment is it? Is it a payment to a supplier? Is it a refund to a customer? Or is it an other payment? If you're coming from Sage 50, an other payment was what you'd refer to as a bank payment. So just a basic expense. So let's say I've popped some diesel in the van as an example. I want to record that expense in my accounts. I haven't been invoiced for that one, so you probably wouldn't have a supplier set up as the garage set up as a supplier. So I'm going to ignore the supplier. I'm going to choose the bank account that I've paid the money out of. I'm going to choose the payment method. I'll just accept the date. Obviously, you can change that one. I'll say fuel as the reference. I will say £49.62. That's what I've paid today. Just under half a tank going off the current prices, I think. Right, now we then come down to the main body. Now you'll see it's automatically populated that first line for me, and because I've got something on that first line, it's obviously giving me a second line. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple though. Now, we mentioned about categorizing your transactions. So you need to choose a category. Now there are loads set up by default. Now, if you know the number, great, you can type it in, or probably more likely when you first start, you'll scroll up and down the list trying to find it. But what you can also do is start typing. So if this expense related to bank charges, for instance, okay, as I start typing, you'll see it narrows down that list. Let's say I bought some stationery. So start typing, again, it narrows down that list, making it easier for me to find. So if you're struggling, just try that one. You probably find very quickly anyway that you might not even, you probably sat there thinking, I don't know what number it is, but maybe your fingers do. They just type in the right number for you. They're almost like on autopilot. So not the end of the world if you specify the wrong one, because you can always change it later on. But anyway, we'll do ours against the fuel account. So we'll select the right one, pop in some details. I'll just say diesel for van. Now, department, cost center, and project, they are the analysis types that I've got set up. So if I wanted to specify one, I would just choose it from the drop-down. Now we go into the setup and the use of analysis types in our advanced session. Now just continuing along the line, so we come to the net column, but you can see from that 49.62 that I keyed in, it's transferred the balance down onto the line total. Now, this ledger account, I've got a default VAT rate of the standard rate of VAT, currently 20%, attached to it. So it'll know from this 49.62, anything I post to this ledger account generally will include the standard rate of VAT. So it's actually already worked out the net and the VAT for me. I can amend those values if needed. Also, I could amend the line value. So let's say £40 was for diesel and £9.62 was for something else that I've picked up from the garage at the same time. So I could always break down if I wanted to analyze that expense in a bit more detail. Now, other than that, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to click save. And that's my expense recorded in my accounts. Now, I've just covered one transaction type there within the banking area, but all of the others, they're all covered in detail in the online help that's available for you. Now I've got 2 areas left to cover in the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to quickly pop back to the slides. And these are 2 quick, sorry, actually I've just got the one option left to cover. So I just want to quickly cover setting up additional users. Now that could include your accountant as well. Now it's very quick to add your colleagues, and going back to the very beginning of the session when we were looking at accessing it, I talked a little bit about at the time about it being fully cloud, so fully accessed online, that there's nothing to download or nothing for you to install. Just you go literally to sage.com and log in, and that's all your colleagues need as well, a log on. So it's very quick to get your colleagues up and running, and really easy for them to get up and running as well. I'll show you how you go about doing that in a second. Now you can set them up. You can control what areas they can and can't access. When you set them up, the software will fire out an automated invitation email. So it sends that out. It'll be along the lines of, right, you've been invited to access the accounts of such and such a company. Click here to complete the process of setting up your logon. And everyone who has access to Sage Accounting will have real-time access. So again, doesn't matter what device you're accessing it from or where you're accessing it from, you've always got access to the latest data. Now, your accountant or bookkeeper, you can add them as well. However, they must be using the partner edition if you want to add them as an actual accountant. So do check that with them first if you are going to add them. Right, let's have a quick look at that though. So managing your users. We're going to go into the settings menu and choose business settings. So almost gone full circle there. And then we're just going to scroll down to the customize area where we've got the user management option. Clicking user management, all we do is we click invite user, and then what you'll do is you'll pop in their email address at the top. Pop in their email address. Initially, it's going to give them full access. However, you can come down to the advanced permissions and then choose what areas you do and don't want them to have access to. Other than that, you click save, and it will then at that point fire out an email to them. All they do, they click the link, set up their logon, so they'll be adding a password basically, and that's them up and running. Nice and easy and very, very quick. Obviously, you can always come in at this any time, remove them, amend their level of access, etc. Right, now that brings us to the end of the basic areas that we wanted to cover today. Again, if you've got any questions, pop them into the questions panel. I'll try my best to pick those up before we end the session. Remember, there's loads of help available within the online help if you do need some support. So coming back to the slides anyway, so opportunities to extend your knowledge and learn more about your software. Online help, really comprehensive. We keep referring to that one. Probably, I would guess in the region about 80 to 90% of the questions I get asked, I'll easily find an answer within the help. So do use it, really comprehensive. Beyond that, remember you've got access to our support team, and that is included during if you're in your sort of free trial period as well. You've got full access to our support team, so do use them. Remember, telephone support is available 24/7. Sage University, it's where we host all of our e-learning courses, or if you want bite-sized learning, do check that out, see what's available. So it might be you want to learn more about getting set up, day-to-day accounting tasks, processes such as running VAT returns, etc. So do check that out. I have included a link on your follow-up email. So if you're attending the live session today, you will receive a follow-up email in about an hour's time. It's got the link on that you need to actually register for other live sessions or to watch recordings. So if you want to take advantage of that, just watch out for your follow-up email, which you'll get in round about an hour's time. So that's Sage University webinars. If you're interested in coming along to our advanced session or watching the on-demand recording, again, just watch out for the link on your follow-up email. The advanced session covers bank feeds and rules. Bank feeds are a really popular feature. So in basic terms, a way of setting up a link between your bank account and your accounting software. So if you want to find out more about that and how it works and what it's able to do at that point, it can be a big time saver using a bank feed, but come along or watch the recording. We'll cover bank reconciliation, analysis types, correcting transactions, because we all make mistakes here and there. I'm sure I've probably made one today, but easy to correct it. So we'll cover that in a bit more detail. We're going to touch on reports. And then finally, probably one of the hottest topics in the UK at the moment, covering the VAT return because of making tax digital. Really simple and quick to generate a VAT return though. So if you want to see an example of how you go about generating a VAT return, submitting it online, get yourself along to one of our advanced sessions. So a link is included on the follow-up email, which you'll receive in around about 1 hour's time, or simply head along to sage.co.uk/webinars. You'll be able to pick up the registration link from there as well. Right, now that brings me to the end of this morning's session. We're just about bang on time. So thanks for coming along. Hope you have enjoyed it. Admittedly, it is a bit of a whirlwind tour because there's quite a bit to get through and probably so much more we could cover as well. But obviously our next installment is the advanced session, so please come along to that one if you get a chance. If you've got any questions for me at this point though, if you want to type them in, I'll just hang around for another minute or two just to see if any questions do come through. Remember to access the questions on the live session today. It's on your toolbar down the right. It's the little icon that looks like the speech bubble containing the question mark. Just give it a click and you'll see the little box appear bottom right hand corner. If you've got any feedback on what you've seen today, or maybe some ideas, thoughts that you'd like to share with us about how we can improve the webinars, topics you'd maybe like to see covered going forward, let us know. There'll be a little survey pop up as you leave the session. You can take a minute to complete that. We really appreciate it. But that does bring me to the end of the session. So if you're about to leave, many thanks for coming along. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you again. If anyone wants to hang around and you have any questions, Martin, you've got a quick question there. I'll pick that up in just a second. If anyone's got any questions, please pop them in there. So Martin's question, just going back to, I suppose, maximum limits. We mentioned that on a few different areas. There was in so much that you could enter as many or set up as many customer records as you want. No restriction there. No restriction on the products and service records. So Martin, you asked about the maximum number of transactions. There's no restriction on that one. There's no restriction on the however many users you want to set up. It's unlimited. That's included as part of your subscription. Hope that one gives you a bit of reassurance there, Martin. Right, that was the only question I've got. So I think we'll end the webinar at that point. Remember, if you do think of anything after the session, I'm sure you will think of something. If you haven't yet registered, head along to sage.com. There is contact information or contact options on that page. But if you have already signed up, you're either registered and you're already using the software, then you've got access to our support team as well. Many thanks, take care, and hopefully I'll see you again.